So today we're talking about why your growth matters more than your parenting strategy. Yeah, why your growth matters more than your parenting strategy. And we're talking about this today because you would actually see that your growth is central, right? That's really what matters more than any parenting strategy you're adopting, want to adopt, or will adopt. Um, and this framework is at the core of everything I do. My writing, what I talk about, in my publication, Becoming Together, and in my articles generally. Yeah. So let's go. Let's go. And it's also at the core of the message, it's at the core of my message, like I said earlier, and also the central theme of the book I'm currently writing. And speaking of about that, if you'd like to receive advanced copies of the book before it's published, I'm going to share a link to Phil, and I'll be glad to have you work this journey with me. Now, the conversation today and in the next few weeks has become the foundation of what I now call the Unplugged Family Framework. And the Unplugged Family Framework is all about growing, connecting, and thriving. So, grow, connect, and thrive. Exactly. Right. Now, today we are diving deep into that first pillar, grow, because this is where everything begins. It begins with you and not your child, not your children, but with you. I know it's funny, right? Some of us might be thinking, I'm here to learn about how to help my kids, how to help my children. Why are we starting with me? And I get it. I really get it. But you know what? This is actually one of the most important things that I've learned on my own journey. You cannot give what you don't have. And really, think about it. How can I teach my daughter emotional intelligence when I'm snapping at her when I'm stressed? How can I model resilience when I'm treating my own mistakes as failures that I want to hide? Or how will I raise my children to be confident if I'm constantly measuring myself against some impossible perfectionist standard? And the answer is that I cannot. I really cannot. Now let me give you a little backstory. When my daughter was 4, thereabouts, she picked up lying. And I used to be so furious, like, how on earth could this 4-year-old start lying? What did she know that, you know, making her tell lies? And it occurred to me, or I became frustrated, I became overwhelmed. And I remember I used to tell her, I used to say to her, we don't lie here. How can you even be lying? Why can't you just say the truth? What's so difficult with you saying the truth? How could you just be lying? And the more I projected those frustrations, those overwhelm, the more it got worse, or the worse it got. And that's when I knew that I needed to do something different. That's when I started learning. I really started my intentional parenting journey for myself first. So I used to learn a lot. I took courses, started reading books. I put myself in parenting community and I started to learn. And the more I learned, the more I realized that, oh, okay, I needed to fix me first. So it was first about me. And I realized then that the reason why my daughter was constantly telling lies, particularly when she does something wrong, was because I was modeling perfectionism. Because I kept saying things like, we don't lie here, we don't do this here, we don't do that here. So this was a 4-year-old. My daughter is quite adventurous, who is taking on the world, who is she wants to explore, she wants to try this and try that. And of course, she's a child. In the process of trying this, trying her hands out on things, for instance, maybe she spills milk, or I remember one instance where she spilled detergent or something, you know. But then she remembers, oh, we are supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to all be prim and proper. And then she lies to cover up. So it dawned on me that because I was modeling perfectionism, I was projecting perfection. That's why she was lying. Because of course she needed to still stay perfect, right? Of course, if I just tell mommy it wasn't me, then all is good. Of course, that's the brain of a 4-year old thereabouts. So when I started knowing better, I started approaching it better. And the conversation became, the conversation now became, oh, you make mistakes. Oh, it's okay to make mistakes. You've done this thing that mommy asked you not to do. It's fine, right? We all make mistakes. I make mistakes. Your dad makes mistakes. The teachers in school make mistakes. So she began to see that, okay, the story, the conversation, the narrative started changing from we are perfect to, oh, we make mistakes and it's okay. You spilled something in the process of exploring or wanting to know more about something. It's fine. All you need to do is own up, and that incident is corrected and we learn from it. So you see that how it had to take me being aware and of course being willing to do better for those lying incidences to initially begin to reduce and then practically come to an end. So that backstory, it began to force me to ask myself, what kind of legacy am I building? What am I modeling for my daughters? Who am I becoming as I raise them? And it also began to make more sense to me to say that parenting is not just about raising children. It is really raising ourselves while we raise our children. So the grow pillar, and that's why we're starting with the grow pillar. The grow pillar is about that journey. It is your journey and it is my journey. So what does grow actually mean? And I'd like to say that based on my experience and all of the things that I am currently doing with my children, it rests on 4 foundations. And the first one is self awareness. Self awareness, understanding your patterns. Why do you do what you do? We all have triggers, we all have patterns. So, for instance, taking the story that I had shared earlier, I had to recognize that when my 4-year-old daughter lied to me, it wasn't really about the lie. It wasn't really about the lie. It was about my own fear. It was my own fear of, oh, I failed as a parent. She's no longer going to be she's going to grow up and be a bad person, you know, because I was projecting perfectionism. So it was a case of, oh, it's about how how can I have children who are not perfect? So it was really about my own fear of have I failed as a parent? Not necessarily what is she feeling? Why did she have to lie to me? What exactly is going on with her? What am I doing that is making her unsafe to tell the truth? And so when I started thinking about these things and started implementing them, slowly, gradually, the lying stopped. I didn't find the right punishment. I didn't even have a punishment, but I changed the environment. I changed the narrative. I let her see that mistakes, everyone makes mistakes. It's all part of being human. It is not something to hide. So ask yourself, well, self awareness will ask you or will force you to ask yourself, what patterns am I repeating? What triggers me? What wounds am I carrying that show up in my parenting? Another thing that triggers me, for example, is coming into a place and the home is untidy, unkept, things are scattered everywhere. I had to intentionally train myself to remind myself, especially when they were much younger, to remind myself that these are children, for crying out loud. They would make a mess. They will turn every upside down. So what do I need? How can I best handle that emotion so that I'm not triggered and I'm all over the place with emotions and anger and all of that? So first of all, I had to create a play area. Say, okay, so make all of these messes in this area, in this space. And then I started teaching them cleaning up after your mess. Of course, they might not do a perfect job in cleaning up, but it started from somewhere. And we are still on that journey. What have you taught them? You've taught them that, okay, there are certain places that you have a play area and it's your responsibility to do your play in that area. And then, of course, you clean up. So they are learning, okay, so after I make a mess, I clean up. What was for me it was for me it was more about, oh, I need a clean space. I don't want to see messes everywhere. But I'm living with toddlers. I'm living with children. So you see how self-awareness helps you understand your patterns, understand the things that trigger you, understand if there are underlying wounds that you are carrying, so that that are showing up in how you're currently parenting. And then you can start dealing with them one after another. And then the next foundation of growth when you are trying to parent is intentional living. When you're aligning your actions with your values. When you're aligning your actions with your, hi, Renee. Okay. So today I'm talking about why your growth matters more than your parenting strategy. So I was talking about this foundation is basically, this conversation basically rests on my framework, which is the Unplugged Family Framework, and it rests on three pillars: grow, connect, and thrive. And today we are diving deep into grow, because everything all starts with you as a person, as a parent, as an individual. If you grow, then definitely it beats any parenting strategy that you're adopting or that you want to adopt, because it all starts with you. So I'd shared about growth. So I'm currently sharing about growth. I'm diving deep into growth. And I'm talking about the four foundations around growth, around how you can grow as a person and as a parent. And the first one was self-awareness. I know, Rennie, I've talked about I've shared with you how my daughter used to lie. And for me, it took a lot of self-awareness, because when I began to understand conscious parenting, intentional parenting, I began to understand that the lie wasn't, I was worried about the lying because it wasn't really about her lying. It was really about my fear of failing as a parent. Because, oh, how could I have raised somebody who will become a bad person in quotes? So if we understand our triggers, if we understand the wounds that we're currently carrying into our parenting, we'll be able to deal with it gradually. I also talked about my some of that triggers for me is coming into a space and everywhere is messy, untidy. But I'm living with toddlers, I'm living with younger children. They're definitely going to create a mess. Now, that trigger for me is coming more from a place of, oh, I like everywhere spick and span. I like my whole house all. But that's not possible, because children must be messy. They must play. They must, in fact, that is where their learning explodes. That is where their curiosity blossoms. So, knowing the kind of person I was, what did I do? So, I had to create a play area for them, first of all. And then I began to gradually teach them how to clean up after their mess. Teaching them how to clean up after their mess. Of course, they probably will not do a perfect job, but it starts from there. So, That alone is teaching them that, oh, for instance, in my own case, we make mistakes. Oh, we are all human, right? So, but me being self aware, first and foremost, helped me to deal with the trigger that I was facing. And that helped my connection with my children because truly, when I used to be all stressed out with her lying, you know, there was actually a break in the connection. And that's really what led to my journey in learning, oh, how can I deal with this? So self-awareness is very important in your journey, in your growth journey as a person, as a parent, as an individual, especially as a parent who wants to nurture thriving children. And then the next one is aligning your actions with your values, which is really intentional living. Because we all say we have values that matter to us, but are we really actually living those values? So if, for instance, I tell you, oh, family connection is my top priority, and then I spend dinner time scrolling on my phone, or I say I value learning, but I've hardly read anything or taken any course that stretches my thinking. Or I'm saying that I want my daughters to be brave, to be resilient, to be this, to be that, but then I'm protecting them from every possible disappointment. Then I'm not actually living those values because I have to model these things to my children. So intentional living is closing that gap. If somebody followed me around for a week, what would they know? What value will they say? What would they know what I value based on how I spend my time? So if for instance, I value family connection, for instance, and that means during family meals, I'm not with my phone, or I have specific times where I am connecting with them. When they come back from school, for instance, I'm not doing anything. I shut down, put the phone away, and we actually have conversations. Or if it's sometimes when we're taking a walk in the evenings, or sometimes when we're having some conversations just before bedtime. My children see me take courses, they see me read books. If Rainy, they know that they know I have Friday classes, for instance. They see how we talk to people, how we greet strangers cautiously, how we talk to people respectfully. They see me read books. And these are really the things that matter. It's not sitting them down and lecturing them. Intentional living is asking, are my daily choices reflecting the person that I want to be? The person first, and then the parent that I want to be, or to for myself first, and then for my children. So again, that rests on intentional living is actually a foundation, is a subset of your growth as a person first. And then the next one is continuous learning. Continuous learning is where you are modeling curiosity. I learn a lot from my children. I learn a lot from my children. And like I was talking about intentional living. When was the last time, you're saying that you want your children to learn? When was the last time your children saw you learn something or struggle with something or fail at something and try again? I tell my children about my challenges, my struggles. Sometimes I'm trying to sort out. I also try to tell them the lessons learned. For instance, some work projects, for instance, or maybe there's a presentation that I worked on not too long ago. I struggled a bit because I didn't have much time to prepare the slides, and we had conversations about it. Nothing too serious, nothing too formal, just conversations here and there, everyday conversations. But they're actually picking a lot. What are the lessons learned? So I thought, oh, for instance, I needed to start earlier next time. I think I took for granted that, oh, so I'm good at making these presentations. And I took that for granted. And then I struggled because there were some things I needed to put in place, but I didn't have enough time to think them through properly. And we also use teachable moments a lot. I love this one a lot because, like I said, I don't have to sit them down for a lecture. So, for instance, I think yesterday, we had agreed to leave at 7:20 to take them to school. I need to start driving off at 7:20. And I was, when we woke up, from the minute we woke up, I kept timing them. Okay, 5 minutes to do this, 2 minutes to do this. We kept on going, and finally we got into the car at 7:15. And my second daughter said, "Oh, Bobby, you see that we're even earlier than our planned time of leaving. And you see, but you were overly like, oh, let's go, let's go, let's go." And I said, yes, it's good, right? And it's even better that you are earlier, because now this gives you enough time to, okay, you've settled down. You don't have to rush out. You've settled down. You can even take 1 or 2 minutes more to think about, okay, oh, so we can start living now. And just as I was saying it, my first daughter just said, "Oh, mommy, I forgot my pen." So I had to go back inside. This was about 7:16 thereabouts then. I had to go back inside, got the pen, and we finally drove off at 7:18. Right. So exactly what I was trying to tell them. Imagine if we had gotten into the car at 7:20 or maybe even 7:21. Because of the friends, because of the rush, we won't even remember to settle down and ask, okay, is everything in place now? Am I good to go? Can I finally leave? Right. But because we had a little extra time, we were able to calm ourselves down and then ask the question. And then in that process, she remembered that she didn't, she hadn't taken her pen earlier. So these are the kind of teachable moments that I use a lot. I don't have to sit them down and tell them, oh, today we're taking a lesson on modeling resilience or modeling curiosity and all of that. We don't, so teachable moments are really powerful for me. And another story for is, I think when I learned how to swim, I learned swimming with them as an adult, and I learned it because of them. They saw how I was scared, how I swallowed water, how I felt frustrated. But they watched me. I kept showing up until, in fact, I have a video where we did a race together. I mean, that scenario alone has taught them resilience more than any lecture could ever do. And they can see that learning doesn't stop at adulthood. They saw that it's okay to be bad at something before you are good at it. And that's really what continuous learning is about in real life. I mean, it's okay to sit them down and have conversations. If you have stories that are currently happening with you, tell them. I mean, that's like the perfect way or the tool that you can use to model these things in real life, real time. If there are stories from childhood, my dad used to tell us stories a lot, whole lot of stories from his childhood. He would, and he uses those stories to drive home points, tell us about how to make friends, how to have good friendships, how to just be responsible in life. He would tell us things about people, how people behave. And, he would just draw up conversation. He didn't have to tell us, oh, to have a good friend, you have to be this, you have to be that. No. I mean, it's not bad, but if you are able to tell stories or use things that are currently happening to you, use your current situations, let them also see that you are human just like them. It's not, you also have struggles, you have challenges. You are going through life just as they are, but you just probably just have more experience and you are leading the way. And they can actually see that, oh, mommy is trying to do this, so can I. So continuous learning will ask you, what am I learning right now? How am I letting my child or my children witness that journey? And another one is vulnerability, showing your humanness, which I think I've touched on in these conversations. And this one is quite hard, even for me as a person. But as I've been training myself, and it's getting easier for me to just not be the perfect person. I'm not I'm not showing them that I never mess up, that I never lose my cool, that I never let them see me struggle. I'm showing them that I'm human, that I make mistakes. I'm also learning to apologize. So if I snap unfairly, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't, I lost it a bit. And I'm sorry about it. I'm not going to pretend that it didn't happen. We'll name it. I will apologize. and I talk about what I'm learning. In fact, something funny happened this morning. I was making fries and I thought I had put off the switch, you know. And when my daughter said, "Oh, that this fries is so," and I said, "No, I put it off." I didn't look up. I was doing what I was doing, and I said, "Oh, I've put it off." But she said, "No, that the switch is on." I'm like, "How is that possible?" And lo and behold, I looked and it was on because the switch I put off was the one right beside it, not the one for the deep fryer itself. And I'm like, "Oh my god, oh, I made this mistake." You know, I mean, this is a maybe a very light uh, um example, but then again, it was just a perfect way to, oh, I made, oh my god, I made a mistake. You know, they learn that sorry is not weakness. They learn that adults are still growing too. They learn that mistakes are not endings, that you could actually learn from it and become better. So vulnerability is letting my children see my growth edges. It's not telling them that I have arrived, I'm the perfect person, I can make no mistake. No. So that's why the grow, and that's why grow must come first. Because I must be self-aware on this journey. I must model continuous learning. I must align my intentions, my values with my daily actions, and I must be vulnerable. And and only after you've done this that you're actually growing as a person first, and then as a parent for your children. Because your children will not learn emotional regulation from your lectures about feelings. They will learn it from watching you handle your emotions. They won't learn authenticity, for instance, from what you tell them about being themselves. They will learn it from watching you live aligned with your values, especially when it's hard. They will not learn resilience from your pep talks about never giving up. They will learn it from watching you face challenges and keep going. You are their living curriculum. I tell myself I am the curriculum for my children. So you see why my growth is essential, and it beats any parenting strategy that I'm adopting or that I will ever adopt. Because when I'm growing intentionally, everything becomes easier. I've seen it play out in my own situation, and honestly, it's just amazing. You see your children pick up habits naturally. You don't have to stress. They come home from school, they already know their routines. They know what to do. I don't have to chase anybody for homeworks. They already know what to do. Of course, this not to say that children will definitely still be children, right? But then it just makes the job easier. It makes it more natural. It's not forced. Even when mistakes happen, you pick yourself up, you learn from it, and you move on. That's what, and that means you are modeling exactly what thriving looks like. But it first has to start with you. First has to start with you being self-aware. What's the pattern that you're trying to understand better? For me, for instance, when I'm stressed, I I have to intentionally watch it because I now get irritated faster, right? So these are these are the things about being self-aware and growing and living intentionally. So ask yourself, when does this happen? What triggers me? And you don't have to fix anything immediately. Just even being knowing it is a great starting point. And then we all need to keep practicing intentional living. When we say this value matters to me, reading matters to me, for instance, my children see me read. So that when I tell them, oh, you have your reading book for the week, it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like a lie. It doesn't feel hypocritical. It just feels natural. Well, this is the culture that we are building in this home. And it just flows naturally. It doesn't feel like, "Ah, mommy, when did we start reading?" It just feels so natural. When we say we are committed to continuous learning, for instance, learn something new. I've had to learn swimming, like I said earlier, piano lessons, French, tennis. And I do these things for for the children. They see how I struggle with, and one other thing that it helps us is that it also creates an additional connection area or point, because we now have something extra to talk about. We don't have to learn something new for career or for productivity, just for the joy of it, just for the growth of it, just for our children to witness our learning process and know that learning doesn't end at a particular age or in a particular place like the classroom. It's everywhere all around us. And of course, be vulnerable, because we will mess up as human beings. I've learned a lot to say I'm sorry, and it's becoming a regular part of my vocabulary. It's not, it's not, I mean, it's telling them that I'm human as well. And all of these things is not simple because there'll be days that you'll be exhausted and you don't want to do the work. There'll be days that you just want to be on your phone scrolling than being present. There'll be days you want to yell. And it's really okay. That's something I've also learned. It's not about being perfect. It's about making small choices that will move me closer to the parent that I want to be. And then making a better choice tomorrow and the next and the day after. And I keep going, because it's not about being perfect. So some days you make you stride, just like everything in life naturally. Some days you feel like, oh, you are crushing it. Some other days you even feel like you're going backward. And truly that's growth. It's not linear. But every time we choose self-awareness over autopilot, every time we align our actions with our values, every time we are modeling learning and vulnerability for our children, we are building the foundation for a family that truly grows together. So there's something I usually tell myself. If if my children were describing me to someone, maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, what would I want them to say about how I showed up for them during these years? What would I want them to have learned from watching me? And I try to let that vision guide my growth. Because at the end of the day, how I live is actually the legacy that I'm leaving for my children. It's not money, it's not properties. It is the daily choices that I make as I'm nurturing them. That's actually the legacy that I'm leaving for them. So I always let that vision guide me. Thank you so much for joining me. Like I said at the beginning, the foundation of everything that I talk about, my publication, my newsletter publication, my articles, the book I'm currently writing, it writes on this grow, connect, thrive framework or pillars. The framework here is with three pillars: grow, connect, and thrive. And today we talked about grow, because I cannot say that I want to raise a child who is thriving if I myself am not thriving. And I can only thrive when I'm making a conscious effort to keep growing. And in subsequent weeks, I'm going to look at the connect pillar and then, of course, the thrive pillar. So with that, thank you for today's conversation. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you picked something, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did talking about it. Do we have any questions, comments, contributions to this topic? I would love to have us talk about them. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Patrick, John, Renee, Jennifer, Eunice, 10 years, imagine. Thank you so much. Do have a wonderful day, evening. Bye.